Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you are doing well. Welcome to another video from the Hack Your Future channel. My name is Ricardo, founder of the Hack Your Future community. And just to summarize, the Hack Your Future project was created with the intention of offering support to all people who want to enter the information security area, whether they are beginners or people who are considering a career transition. So, welcome, guys. Today, we're going to talk about offensive security, and I brought someone very special to this chat. Ally achieved OSCP certification at the age of 16. Whoa. And probably she is the youngest woman to achieve this prestigious certification in the whole world. And for those guys who don't know it yet, Offsec's OSCP certification is one of the most prestigious certifications in the whole world, making it a great differentiator for all those who have it. Although the OSCP is classified as an entry-level certification, it demands a lot from candidates, and its practical exam lasts 24 hours. In addition to the final report, which also has a deadline of 24 hours, and it's critical to demonstrating the candidate's ability to document and communicate their findings and solutions. Ali, are you there? Please join me.
Yes, I am here.
Hello.
Thank you for having me on today. It's a pleasure to speak here today.
All right. Well, this is my first time producing content in a second language, so please take it easy on me, okay? Let's get straight to the point. Ali, could you please introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what do you do for a living? Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm currently the youngest security researcher on the Red team. I'm also a high school student. I'll be graduating at the end of this month, but for now, my days are spent mostly at school doing homework and or when I come home doing homework and with the time I've left over, trying to find security bugs at SNAC and doing independent research or expanding my cybersecurity skills and knowledge. But of course, resting and taking care of myself as well because I've learned how easy it is to get burnt out in the industry. And I'm based in California um, with a lot of problems and a lot of great things about California. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and have entered the industry at such a young age.
Oh, thanks, Ali. That's amazing. You probably started your studies in computing at a very young age. What made you awaken to this universe of offensive security? What was your main motivation?
Yeah, so I actually began teaching myself to code when I was 14, which was during the COVID pandemic, and I had nothing better to do with my free time than explore different career options and learn and try and prepare myself for the future. And so while learning to code, I went down the multiple software engineering internships. Eventually, I had a conversation with my mom where she asked me about whether you could hack into a Tesla. And I said, no, of course not. I know everything. I know how to code. But then I was like, wait a minute, is that true? So I researched um, cybersecurity and wireless communication and realized that learning to code was not enough to know how to hack into a router. So that curiosity brought me into learning more about offensive security and hacking, which led me to eventually stumbling across industry certifications and learning about the OSCP. So my main motivation was really just the curiosity and also wanting to prepare myself for the future. And it seemed like a great option since I've always loved strategy games and puzzles.
All right. It's quite interesting when you say that you are driven by curiosity. Because I think every single hacker in the world are driven by curiosity, by the way. Well, Ali, in your opinion, do you think Pen 200 is a basic pen testing course? Do you think this course is suitable for people who are just starting out in the world of cybersecurity and who are interested in offensive security?
Yeah, so whether the Pen 200 is a good course option depends on your goals. Um, I briefly mentioned in my blog about the OSCP that most of my preparation for it was done for free before I even bought the Pen 200. I kind of saw the Pen 200 as more of a necessary prerequisite to the OSCP, just because it comes bundled together. But you can really learn all the material free. And I would consider it to be pretty basic, touching many of the fundamentals. Um, but when I look back at the knowledge and skills I have now, the OSCP does seem pretty attainable for a beginner. But that's also just from my perspective now, having more knowledge and also just back then it was a pretty big it was pretty big grind when I was 16 with all the time that I was able to invest, and I was fortunate enough to have the time to invest. So I think it's approachable for a beginner if they have the time and are able to do that. If not, then it becomes pretty expensive to keep extending the labs. So so I would honestly suggest the free options with Hack the Box or Proving Grounds instead if you weren't going to do the OSCP.
Okay, I agree with you, and I think it depends on the person's ease of learning. Well, I read on your blog that you started your journey to pass the OSCP exam in December 2021 and took the exam in March 2022. A step path that lasted 4 months. In your opinion, what was the biggest technical challenge you faced during this time?
Hmm. I think my biggest challenge in general was definitely psychological and self doubt, wanting to be be 100% sure that I would fast when that's impossible to know so far in advance. But in terms of technical challenges, I would say probably troubleshooting because you can have everything planned out, the perfect strategy on how to exploit a box, and then you go to do it and you get an error message and that completely derails your plan. Um, that could lead to failing the OSCP, especially if it's on the Active Directory machines. When unless you have bonus points, it's a necessity to get those boxes to pass. And so I think learning how to improvise when things go wrong was by far the biggest technical challenge. It's why I failed the EJPT before I got the OSCP because I didn't know how to do it back then, but I got a lot of practice with it.
That's a good strategy. That's awesome. Ali, so it took you an amount from 4 to 7 months to get your OSCP certification. You really worked hard, huh? Ali, 24-hour exam is quite exhausting. During the OSCP exam, what was your strategy to stay focused?
So my funny part about that is I didn't need a strategy to stay focused because I was so filled with adrenaline just from the excitement of doing the OSCP and the fear of failing it that I was very honed in on my focus. Um, and I actually had ended up waking up at 12:30 in the morning the day of the exam. Um, and so I was quite sleep deprived by the time it started, but just all the excitement helped with the focus. There were instances when I got fatigued or distracted, like going down a rabbit hole in an area where there wasn't any security issues. And to kind of mitigate that, I would make an effort to go on walks whenever I noticed this happening or to set a timer. And whenever my timer went off and I hadn't made any progress, I would step away for a second and rethink things. Um, but yeah, eventually taking a nap was also a good strategy to help my focus later on because sleep deprivation does make it quite difficult to focus.
Well, I think a 24-hour exam is so exhausting. Maybe going for a walk or taking a nap is essential to maintain focus and recharge energy until the end. And Ali, is there a big difference between what you learned while studying for the PEN 200 exam and what you do today in your company you work for? By the way, programming languages like Python or Bash scripts are really needed for pen test activities, or it's optional learning in your opinion?
I would also say it depends on this one. The OSCP has a lot of carryover to network penetration testing specifically. For areas like web pen testing, it has some components like looking for CVEs in a CMS or like web framework that's being used. That's very relevant. Um, but it also doesn't touch on things like defense evasion. So if you come into contact with a firewall, then like a web application firewall, you might not know how to bypass that after the OSCP. Um, but yeah, just in general, um, in terms of learning programming languages, in the beginning, it's not necessary to learn a programming language because there's probably already a tool that exists for what you're looking for on GitHub. Um, but as you become more advanced, or maybe you're working on niche projects, it can help to have that scripting ability because there might not be a great solution online, if any solution at all. Or maybe it's with like a programming language that you don't like very much and have trouble with. So, um, learning how to script yourself, you can put things into a more modular framework for you and make it all in one place instead of spread out between 150 different GitHub repos. So, um, yeah, that's my answer.
Well, that's great, Ali. And looking back, is there anything you'd have done differently in your OSCP preparation, or any advice you wish you had received earlier in your journey?
After having done extensive research and had a study plan that worked well for me, if I were to change anything, I would have told myself to believe in myself more. It's kind of a cheesy thing to say, but my own self-doubt definitely held me back. I was ready 2 to 3 months before I took the exam, but it was just because of my own self-doubts that I kept over preparing to the point that I burnt out, and that set me back. Um, yeah, the I would definitely compare myself unfairly to people that were experienced, with more years than I'd been alive, and that was an unfair comparison because I was just getting started, and so, yeah, I just had unrealistic expectations of where I should be, and when I saw that I didn't match those unrealistic expectations, I just, began to go on a frenzy of over preparing, um, so I would've just believed in myself more.
That's great. Let's talk about professional opportunities. How has earning the OSCP certification impacted your career opportunities and professional growth in the cybersecurity? Have you noticed an increase in job offers arrive in your inbox, or has there been no difference at all?
I would say, my answer is very specific to my age. I got the OSCP at 16, which sounds great, but also makes things extremely complicated because as a minor, sometimes companies are less willing to hire you just because of legal reasons, and that's understandable. Um, but it also decreases opportunity for you a little bit, at least while you're 16 or even 17. But as I've been going into adulthood, I'm not quite there yet, but I almost am. I've been seeing opportunities coming to me much more regularly, and I think that have being able to say that I have it and got it so young definitely has. For instance, I did an internship at the city of Bakersfield. It was advertised for a clerical position, but ended up using my ability with the OSCP to like help persuade my interviewers to consider me um for an internship on the security team. And as a result, they ended up asking the supervisor of the security team if I could join as an intern. And so I and he said yes. So my OSCP actually helped me to get a job or internship that didn't even exist. Um, so that was pretty remarkable. Um, and so I think that it definitely has helped. It just took a while to come into fruition.
Great, Ali. I personally believe that companies are always looking for certified professionals, and the OSP really makes a big difference. And Ali, by the way, what are your future goals in the cybersecurity industry, and how do you plan to continue advancing your skills and expertise beyond the OSCP certification?
I used to make very detailed plans on the future with a timeline of when I was gonna learn this thing or that thing. But what I've learned is having such a detailed plan doesn't really work out. Life happens, and so right now I have a general goal. Um, I would like to obtain a bachelor's degree in computer science, and continue to gain more experience in security research roles. Um, I have some opportunities coming up, and so I'd like to uh, give those my all and see where they lead. Um, I would also consider taking on personal projects, different security research projects, or maybe dabbling in AI. Who knows? Just depends on how much time I have available and what I'm interested in. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, but in general, it's kind of maybe get another certification, but definitely getting a degree and more work experience.
Great, Ali. And for all those people who wish to learn offensive security but don't have the financial resource to pay for the PEN 200 course, do you think it's possible to find quality materials for free on the internet? What do you suggest?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Like I said, I learned most of the Pen 200 before even buying the exam. The syllabus available for free, and so you can use that as a guide to figure out what you'd like to learn on your own. Um, there's the TJ Knowles list on Hack the Box of boxes that they're like that. Although you could, that does require VIP membership, so that's not 100% free. But um, there's many free options out there. Um, if you would like to get started in offensive security, it doesn't necessarily have to be network penetration testing. You could choose an area like IoT or car hacking or satellite hacking and find whatever's out there for that. Maybe you could look for a Git book online of the basics of it and kind of go from there of trying to look at vulnerabilities that exist in it or different types of pen testing methods on it. It doesn't have to be to fit the same mold of the Pen 200. And you can also ask ChatGPT to help you to list some basic concepts and then research those more on your own.
All right. Ali, thank you so much for this chat. I think all information shared here will be really useful for our community. Thank you so much. And before we finish, do you have final words of encouragement to the Hack Your Future community?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, first of all. I think I'll end off by saying that focus on what you can do, because it's so easy to compare your journey to someone else's. Think, oh, that Ally girl, like she got such a head start. She had parents that let her do cybersecurity after school. Like she's so lucky. Um, there were things that there were limitations I had too, like my age. Just focus on what you're able to do with what you have and go from there. Um, it won't always come quickly and easily to learn offensive security, but just keep at it, be consistent, and you'll see it pay off over the long term. Reciprocate how much you learn and how much fun you have.
Well, that's all, guys. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.